Hello and welcome back to Pantheon of Geeks. Today we're going to take a look at a War Transformed. We're going to have a look through the rule system for it. This isn't so much a playthrough as it is a look at the rules, so this isn't like a game about tactics. So if you've come in for tactics, you won't get that just yet. That may be later on after I've played a few more games. But this is just basically how to play the game. At least from what I've been able to glean from looking on forums. There are a few problems with the rulebook. There's a few things in there that are wrong. Anything that I do know is wrong, I will say so, but put in the comments if you know anything's been updated. We've still been waiting for an FAQ to come through and a rules update. That's not come through yet on the Osprey website, which is where it will come through, but the author has said it's been sent to them, so I'm keeping a lookout for that. This may be filmed over a few days, so if it does turn up in the next few days, I'll show you during the course of the video. But I'm on a smaller board in the spare room, as opposed to the kitchen where I normally film battle reports and stuff like that. Kind of been evicted, but there we go, that's fine. No, just a joke. No, it's just it's an easier room to film in and leave this set up for a few days, because this might take a few days to go through and make a video for. So what we're going to do, we have our two forces. We have our British forces from our previous video. That's all on this side. You can't quite see some of it on here. That's one of the limitations of being up here. I can't get the camera at the correct angle. So I'll probably move the camera about for this. But if you can't see something, I will try and explain where it is. We have our two British infantry units here, down here. We have the other infantry unit there behind them. We have the mortar. We have our British witch there. I'm sure of it. We have our commander on horse, captain horse, and then we have our two units of lancers there. Over on the other side we have our Germans. We have the sniper there in the corner. We have a unit of infantry there. Behind them is the witch. Next to them is the commander, captain, all in front of the Shatterpoint terrain. Which I just have to yeet out of the way. This is the Shatterpoint board that I'm using for Shatterpoint, which is why I haven't bothered to switch it over to like a green side or anything, because it's actually easier to see than using the green map against the green terrain and stuff. So there is unpainted things on here, but I just wanted to get this video out. Anyway, back to over here we have our stormtroopers, then we have our heavy machine gun, and another unit of infantry over there. Right in the corner, you might notice a piece of Warhammer terrain. That is going to be a locus in the future. I've been wanting a reason to paint that, because I think it's really cool. So I'm going to use that as a locus, terrain locus. We might get into that when we get to the terrain rules. Other than that, there's just a couple of blobs of trees in the way. This isn't set out for a proper game. This is just set out for this demo, if you will, of how the rules work. So normally you'd have hills, terrain, whatever. I'm just using this as a couple of area of line sight blocking objects, and this is just like the bolt action terrain that I have, so it's fits in pretty well. You can pretty much use any terrain you want in a War Transform, so there we go. So let me just quickly go through the setup rules. So before you play a game of a War Transform, there's a couple of things you want to do. Obviously you want to have an opponent if you look for an opponent, and you want an army and so on and so forth, but before you actually get down to the meat of actually playing a scenario, you want to choose a scenario you're going to actually play before you choose anything else, to be honest. So choose a scenario. There are optional rules in here for scenarios as well. I think I may have covered that in the previous video, but there's also rules for action manifestation dice, which I think are actually really good. Won't be using them in this demo though, or the divine protection rules. I also think they are good, and we'll probably be using them in the main games when I play them, but again, I'm not going to use them today. Choosing a scenario. For today we're going to be playing engagement, simply because it doesn't involve any other special terrain. For instance, if you want to do trench raid, you need to have trench terrain. So check your scenario first, which scenario you're going to be playing, let your opponent know what scenario you're going to be playing, and how many points you're going to be playing up to, and how many other points that are allowed to spend on unit upgrades as well, enemy upgrades and points they've got. So the engagement is pretty straightforward. It does say to play on a 6x4 table. This is a 3x3 table because, as you can see, I'm struggling to get that on the camera. So we're going to be just playing on this table. This is only a 10-point force a side, so it's I think it's going to be fine for this. And just getting the hang of the actual rules and the way that it works. Obviously, once you get a bigger table, you have more room for manoeuvres. That's going to help things like cavalry getting out of the way of guns, etc. But again, this one isn't about tactics. This is just about how the game actually operates. In this case, to determine which player will deploy first, each player will roll a d10. The player with the lowest score places their units up first. In engagement, both players can choose to deploy their units anywhere within their deployment zones. And if you see here, this is your pretty standard for any wargame deployment, where you have a 12-inch deployment, and then you have a big, almost no man's land-esque thing in the middle, but you put whatever you want in there, put some buildings. I would advise putting trees and hills and buildings all in the middle, just to make it more interesting, because heavy machine guns are absolutely devastating, as they should be. The victory conditions is this round can last up to 6 rounds. This demo probably won't last 6 rounds. This is just to get a hang of the rules, so it'll probably last 2-3 rounds. We'll see how it goes. The victor is the last man standing, or the player with the most remaining section points. That's section points, not upgrade points. To determine how many section points you have left, count your remaining units, comparing these with any original recruitment costs. A captain counts for 3, which will count for 2. Any broken units are worth half their section point value. Again, any upgrade points you spent on them do not count towards the victory conditions. That's the first thing to know. And whenever you do any game, you kind of want to know what game you're going to be playing, because you might want to customize your army towards that. It's a bit counterintuitive in other games I've played, whereby you have your army and then we roll to see what scenario. I think this game works pretty much better the other way. It's a bit more like when I used to play Malifaux. You'd figure out what you were going to play, then you'd customise your army to that actual scenario. And I think this works better like that. That's my experience of it so far anyway. So that's the first thing. So we're going to be in an engagement. It's just going to be a fight. We're just going to be fighting each other. So there's no other special rules we need to worry about for that. The next thing to do is to make it very clear with your opponent as to what the terrain on the table is. I would use whatever method you want to set up terrain. Usually set them into like various pieces and then roll a dice, see how many pieces you want to set up per quadrant, and then get your opponent steps them up and you set them up as well. So take it in turns. Really any method of terrain which makes the battlefield sort of uneven, random, sort of, but not favouring one side over the other. And I would also probably do a dice roll off and see who starts on what side as well, just so one person doesn't set it all up in their favour. But set it up however you want, really. But the terrain types for this battle, everything's open ground. Open ground has no special rules. All troop types pass over open ground with no penalty. Small streams, shallow pools and puddles should be treated as open ground. We just have a flat battlefield in this case. The only thing on this battlefield will be trees. As you can see, we're going to have some trees. The real reason is just to have some line of sight blocking terrain. But the other rules for trees, woods cannot be entered by tracked or wheeled vehicles. Cavalry can traverse woods without penalty if moving, but must make a test to charge through as though they were crossing broken ground. Those are the only rules for woods. They will be blocking line of sight, so you can't draw a line of sight through them because they're quite densely packed, as you can see. And that's it. That's all they're going to be. It's just to stop the heavy machine gun just mowing down everything in its path. Because it's sat nicely over there. I've showed you before. The other thing in this game, base sizes. There are rules for base sizes in here. Use them if you want. If you're at a tournament, obviously, you're probably going to have to use them, but I don't intend on playing this in a tournament, so I won't be using the base size rules. All my measurements will be done from the centre of a base, or approximately wherever the head of the model is, should I say. And any for unit coherency, kind of just like a blob of troops, as long as they're within range of whoever the unit leader is. In this case, they're all NCOs. But when I paint them, it'll be a bit more obvious as to who the leader is, because I'll probably do the helmet slightly different, just to make them stand out. Not good for snipers, obviously, but for actual playing the game, it'll be a bit more interesting to see who the unit leader is. And kind of like in Legion, I'm just going to move the unit leader, then pack everybody around them. That'll keep that a bit more straightforward. Other than that, we're just going to try and follow the rules from the book. So let's have a look at the actual phase and how it breaks down. So just for reference again in this scenario, because this is a demo, no one's deployed more than 6 inches away from the edge, because this is about a half-size battlefield. It's not as long as a normal of shortened the deployment zones. That's why everyone's a bit cramped up next to the edge. So let's have a look at the phases. So this is the phase table to show you how the game breaks down. So we start with the command phase. This is where players can attempt to manifest creatures, perform rituals, or issue orders. Units that use a skill in this phase, such as issuing an order or performing a ritual, do not count as being activated. That goes on to 1A, where there's any close combat, which can actually happen within that phase. That will be resolved then. Any compulsory moves, also resolved then. That's your phase 1. And then you get on to your activation phase. This is where you start bidding for who wants to go within each phase. There are 3 phases: Cannonade, Elite and Line, which will be basically based on your troops. You start with the Cannonade phase, which is basically, in this game, will be the mortar on this side, the HMG on that side as well. So they were going to go first, so you're going to be bidding as to who goes there. Then comes the elite phase, so our cavalry count as elites as well as our stormtroopers, and then it ends up with the line phase, so pretty much everybody else. Your characters, your witch and your captain can go in any phase, and they can actually go in more than one phase, but can gain stress markers for going in multiple phases. So it's up to you when they go, and they can, as I said, they can go multiple times, moving around and doing stuff, but all the command type stuff happens at the beginning. So, at the beginning of each round, you're going to want to generate your command tokens. That's the first thing you want to do, because you want to know how many you've got available. So we have command tokens generated for the whole force, as long as no more than 50% of the force has been destroyed. So at the beginning of the game, obviously we've got full forces, so that would be a command token for the beginning of the game. We have 1 command token if the captain has neither been broken or destroyed. Again, both captains present, both captains fine, beginning of the game. And then different troop types will generate command tokens based on what they're doing at the time. You get 1 command token per round for each regular unit, provided it is neither broken nor destroyed. And both sides have 2 regular units, which is their 2 line units of troops. Then, and now this is going to take some bookkeeping as you're going along, because during an assault troop, if they will gain a command token per round if the unit is within 6 inches of an enemy, provided that they are not broken, or 2 command tokens per round if the unit was in close combat. So you have to keep a record of close combats. And again, support, so your cannonade forces, 1 command token per enemy unit that's been pinned by this unit in the preceding round, providing that the unit has neither been broken or destroyed. So as you're going along, when your cannonades pin, you're going to gain some command tokens. So that's worth noting, because obviously when at the beginning of a round you will generate new command tokens, so you'll need to keep a record of some things that happened in the previous round to generate extra command tokens for yourself. Vehicles never generate command tokens, or to word it correctly, this unit does not generate additional activation dice under any circumstances. So it doesn't look like that vehicles will actually generate any command tokens, but it's just the way it's worded. This unit does not generate additional activation dice under any circumstances. So there are some circumstances in the book where a vehicle is a captain, so I assume that is why it's worded differently. So the captain will still generate a command token. And you'll see one when we get to the French forces, because my captain's in a tank. So stay tuned for my French video for the forces for that. So moving along, we're going to move on to the command phase now. So the first phase of the game involves orders, and only in the first phase of the game can you attempt a ruse order. Ruses are slightly more expensive in some cases, like gas barrage or barrage, or a bit cheaper like Vanguard, for instance. Our commander on the British side chose Vanguard as one of his skills, and the German chose barrage as one of their skills. Now, to pull this off, you convert your command tokens into D3s. So one of these command tokens, which was supplied by Warbases UK, by the way, you can get anything made up there, it's really good, is worth a D3. This is a D6. A D3 is simply a conversion of a D6 into a D3, it's easiest way. So a 1 or a 2 will be a 1, a 3 or a 4 will be a 2, and a 5 or a 6 will be a 3. So I'm going to convert 2 of my command tokens for the British officer into D3s. The Vanguard is a level 1 order, so in order to pass the test to actually use it, I need to roll a 1, and that will be on a D3. So there's a 1 in 3 chance of it working, which is why I'm using 2 dice as opposed to just using 1 command token. So let's get rid of our command tokens there. There should be 5, there's only 4, so I'll just get rid of that one. And we're going to roll 2 dice. So this would be a fail, because this is technically a 3. This is a 1. I only needed 1 success, therefore Vanguard has worked. This also allows me to say one of the mistakes in the book is the way that Vanguard and the skill Vanguard is worded. It says that it needs to be deployed within a certain distance of the enemy, and it should say not within, because it completely changes the skill. Because if I was going to deploy it within, I could literally deploy my cavalry unit there and then charge, but I can't, because that would be silly. So it's not written correctly in the book, it's not within, and that's the skill. This, I haven't seen any quote on anybody using this. I assume it's exactly the same, because it says within 16 inches of an enemy unit, and that would be ridiculously powerful. So not within 16 inches of an enemy unit. So we are going to set that one off, so allow me to move one of these. I shall just switch the camera off because I'm going to be stood in front of it. So there we go. So the cavalry unit is just at the top, up there. Technically it's in the forest, but I'm not faffing around with that. It's only about an inch out, so for this demo game that's fine. But that's where they are. So Vanguard allows you to move it not within 16 inches of the enemy. I'm taking it as that, since the Vanguard skill is also wrong. So now the German commander is going to use barrage. Now we have 5 command tokens. It takes 3, it's level 3 successes to allow this to work. So when you've got a bigger game and you've got more line units, there's a lot more chance of you being able to get this kind of thing off at the beginning. It's quite powerful. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll. We're going to see if we can get this off with all 5 dice. Oh, damn it. So I shouldn't have rolled on the book, that was silly. I'm going to re-roll that, there's no point. But just for instance, no, it's on the floor. It was a 3, so that would be a 2. But yeah, I'll move the book when I start rolling later on. But for example, here we have a 6, which is a 3, a 5, which is a 3. They're both 2s, and the 2 is a 1, because we're converting them into D3s. So 1 success, but it's a level 3 barrage, which means it doesn't go off, or it goes off in the wrong place, or somebody didn't get the orders, and that's it. A bit of a waste of a lot of command tokens, but if you get it off, it kind of is very powerful. And in a bigger game, when you've got more line troops, you've got more command tokens, it probably is worth sort of using them to try and get that off. There is also the gas barrage, which is about as powerful, to be honest, it's really good. But that can float around the battlefield and cause some damage to yourself. Some of the ruses will cause damage to yourself. Obviously, tactically moving cavalry in front of a heavy machine gun, probably not a good idea. But for demo purposes, we've done it. Right, so that's the orders phase, and that's the ruses part of the orders. They have to be done in the first command phase only. You won't be able to use them for the rest of the battle. So It's up to you whether you think it's worth buying any ruses or just forgoing the ruses and finding some standing orders you can use for the rest of the game. And honestly, when I've played the game, the ruses are very hit and miss. I do prefer using standing orders, but I want to show you how they worked. So let's move on. So in the book there is a table of skills, abilities and rituals, just to show you that table, just to tell you the difference there. We're going to move on to doing the rituals phase. So performing rituals, this is done by the witches in your army. And just a quick overview, rituals are magical ceremonies that can help your forces or harm the enemy. They're performed in the command phase and always take immediate effect to perform a ritual. A witch must roll a dice, doesn't say what though, but must roll dice to emulate their attempt to call upon the favour of the gods. To be successfully cast, a ritual requires a certain number of wands to be rolled. And again, each ritual, for example here we've got the Rituals of the Maiden, which is what British forces are going to be using anyway. We have the Chariot, which is level 1, which is your level as to how many wands you need to roll in order to pass it. So it says number of wands need to be rolled within this requirement being stated on the entry for the ritual. Command tokens used to cast a ritual are rolled as D3s, with the controlling player able to dedicate as many as they as they choose to ensure the ritual will be successful. So each ritual may be cast once per round. Most rituals will only last for the duration of the round in which they are performed. Some have different durations which will be stated alongside their effects. You can't cast in close combat and you can't cast if you're running away. Another thing that you need to remember is that when you're casting a ritual, if you roll doubles for every paired dice, so if you roll 1s or 2s or 3s, and you gain a manifestation dice, and that's going to be used for summoning your monsters. So without further ado, we are going to attempt to cast the Fool, which is a level 1 spell. A fool may rush in, but no cunning is a ward from a bullet. So select a unit within 12 inches of your witch. So it's the British witch here. And we're going to select a unit within 12 inches. For the remainder of this round, that unit will gain the keyword Foolhardy. We're going to cast it on this line unit that's here. It's a level 1 to cast. We have 3 command tokens left. I'm going to use 2 of them. And I'm going to attempt to cast 3 or 3. No, I'll just try this. I need to roll 1. So again, a 1 or a 2 on a 6. 3-6. We've rolled 2 3s, so that's a fail, but it is a double. So that has actually generated a manifestation dice. So I'm going to use these funky bluey, greeny see-through dice. I think they're from Warhammer. I can't remember which game. But we're going to use those as manifestation dice, and there's 1 generated there. Even though the spell did not work, we still have 1 command token left there as well. The German player has no command dice left, and they are actually using the Hermetic Lodge of the Crone. And so they're not going to be able to cast anything this turn. So we'll come back to that later. So that for now is our command phases over with. The next thing to do is to move on to the next phase, so let's do that. So we're going to move on to the first of the activation phases. The first one is the cannonade phase. Both sides of cannonades, we have the heavy machine gun and the mortar there. At this point, each side would be able to add any command tokens to this roll. See who will go first. Each command token is worth another dice. Only the British have a command token left, and they're keeping hold of that for now. So the red dice will be for the Germans, and the white dice will be for the British, and the British win. There we go. So the British cannonade will go first. British cannonade is the mortar at the back, so we're going to fire the mortar. So we're going to fire from here all the way over there. Just move that over there. There we go. Now a mortar has quite a good range on it. This is a trench mortar. I did write the instructions down. There we go. So they have a range of 48 inches. We know this board is 3 foot long, so it's not really metagaming to know that we are within range. To fire, we're going to be using the small template, which is a 3-inch template. I don't have the templates to hand. I did print them off, but I haven't cut them out yet. You can print them off from the Osprey website, or you can photocopy them from the back of the book. But that is a small template. But you can just measure it as well, because a small template is 3 inches. So in this case, I've got this sort of Malifaux ruler. That's a 3 inches. So if we look at the back, where are the templates in there? There you go. So your small template, medium template, large template. If you're confused at all about diameter and width, you can measure that along there and just see you've got your 3-inch template right there. So we're going to fire. We're going to fire at a point. I'm just going to use dice to mark the point that I'm firing at, because it's a template and it can scatter. I'm going to aim it, and it can fire over terrain as well. So even though there is no line of sight to the mortar, I could drop it on the mortar, which isn't a bad idea, because if you knock out the mortar, I could drop it on the heavy machine gun, which isn't a bad idea, because if it stopped it from firing, it would save the cavalry. So let's do it. I'm going to put it directly there, and the dice are going to fall off. Come here. There we go. So that will be the centre of the template. Next, we are going to roll for scatter. So the rules for arcing shots are on page 65 of the rulebook. If you want to have a look at it yourself, that's where you start when you're firing anything that can fire over things, mainly mortars. And then we're going to go on to scattering, which is on the next page. So to scatter, we're firing a small template, so it could scatter up to D3 inches. But we're going to roll the scatter dice first. So it has scattered, it hasn't rolled a hit, and it's going in that direction. And it's going 3 inches, the full way, the full distance. So that does mean, based on having done this previously and rolled 3 inches, it will miss the intended target, and it will land, this is why I need a different ruler, just on the edge of the board there. So it will actually just clip this unit here. It will clip the back 3 guys stood there. So if you've never used a scatter dice, they all look pretty similar. They all have arrows on, and it's whatever, when it lands on the board it'll be pointing in a direction. They also have hits on, so if you roll a hit it would just hit. In some games a hit doesn't count as a hit, or some circles a hit doesn't count as a hit. That's why there's a little arrow on there as well, just to show in that direction. But there we go, that's how scatter dice works. It scattered the full distance, which is unfortunate because that means it does miss the intended target, but it will hit the back of that infantry unit. So now that we've hit the unit, we're going to roll for the models that we've actually hit with the template, which is 3 models. We'll be using the high explosive table here, and it's D10. So we're going to be rolling 3 D10s. We've rolled a 1, which is a critical hit. We've rolled a 9, which is a near miss, and we've rolled a 3, which is a hit. If you roll a 10, which is a 0 on this dice, that would be considered a dud, but 2 10s are needed. So if I'd rolled 2 10s there, the actual mortar would have been a dud and nothing would have happened. But in this case we've got a critical hit, a hit, and a miss, which is quite good because I can explain what the 3 of those actually mean. So a critical hit is one that's made with pinpoint accuracy. I don't think it was very accurate, but still it was a critical hit anyway. hitting an exposed area or gap in the armour. I think it was more luck than anything. And killing the enemy instantly. So there's no saving throw that's made against a critical hit. Unless a unit has it. This unit does not. Therefore one model is dead. We also generated a hit. So that's just a normal hit. So they will get a save against that. And then we also generated a near miss. So a near miss, some weapons generate a special effect called a near miss. Near misses represent a powerful psychological effect that being under fire can have on a unit. Even if none of the models even none of the shots find their marks, or no models are killed, for each near miss generated during a shooting attack, it means the target unit is more than likely to be pinned. Pinned units cannot be activated for the remainder of the round, as a psychological stress of so much fire being poured down on them can take a heavy toll on the unit's willingness to fight. For the purpose of inflicting wounds, near miss results can be ignored, but do count towards the purposes of pinning tests. So we've generated ourselves a pinning test as well as a wound and a save. When near misses are generated against a unit, it can cause it to become pinned. A pinned unit cannot be activated even to rest. A near miss generated in the course of a shooting attack is used to calculate a pinning test, with every near miss functioning as a disadvantage -1 modifier to the zeal. This means that a unit with zeal 6 that has suffered 2 near misses in this round will be reduced to zeal 4, etc. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a pinning test for the unit just before we do a save test. You do it in any order, I don't think it really makes any difference because the wounds don't count towards it. So we need to do a pinning test. Zeal for this unit, I believe, is 6, but we have ourselves an NCO. So effectively, having an NCO means that it goes back up by 1, so it's going to be 6. So we're going to roll D10 to see if it's pinned or not. And we rolled ourselves a 10, so yeah, that's it needs to be less than a 6. So that's not good. The unit is pinned. I do have a little marker to represent that. This little cog marker, which again I got from Warbases UK. I'm not on commission, I just like them. So that unit is pinned. We also know they suffered a casualty. That's the NCO, we won't remove him. He suffered a casualty, so we'll remove a normal guy. And we also suffered a hit. So the unit gets to make a save. So we're going to roll for a save. That's using a D6. And the save for an infantry unit is a 2. So 1 or a 2. That has failed, so we have lost 2 soldiers to that blast. So we'll remove another one. And the unit is pinned, which means it cannot be activated this turn, which is quite good for the British and those cavalry. So let's remove that. Random dice. But that is the mortar shot, and now it is a turn of the heavy machine gun. So heavy machine gun, just for relative terms, it's got a 90-degree fire arc, which would be in that direction, which straight into those guys, and then in this direction. Obviously we're being blocked by these, but we can still cover both ways, which is why I kind of stuck it there. It's going to fire now. It is their turn. I do actually have these little activation chits as well, so I can remember what's been activated. So we're about to activate that, so the HMG will fire. Okay, so the rules for rolling to hit with a machine gun are on page 63. The rules for how many dice and stuff you roll are right at the back of the book. If anyone's missed out on those, that's on pages 218 and 219. We can see that there is different conditions for different machine guns, etc. So this is just classed as a heavy machine gun, which is there, which is small arms, devastating, and machine gun. 8 and 36, 36 being the range, 8 is the number of dice you roll. Small arms is a thing most things have, and if you don't realise, it just means you can't hurt vehicles. It's what makes vehicles so good. There's a lot of things that can't shoot them. However, they can be taken down in close combat, which is something we'll be testing with the French army, which is going to be a tank-heavy army. His wife printed off a bunch of tanks for them, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we're going to shoot this machine gun. It is 8 dice, and we have a range of 36, so it's definitely within range. Give me some dice. So, a 1 or 2 will generate a hit, a 3 to a 4 will generate a near miss, and a 5 to 6 is just a plain miss. Doesn't look too good actually. We've got 2 1s and a 2. They all count as a hit. We have a miss. We have 2 near misses, and we have another complete miss. 3 complete misses actually, that's not bad. 3 hits, these don't count as crits, so they will get a save. And 2 near misses, which will be a Zeal test at -2. There's no NCO in the Lancer unit, so it'll be based on the Lancer's own Zeal. So let's do that first, just out of interest. So they're coming in with a Zeal 7, -2, which is 5. They roll a 1, so they've passed, so they ain't pinned. So now they need to get lucky with their saves, which is a 3. Let's just roll these 3 dice. All 3. It's a genuine miracle. Crikey. So the pinning didn't work. They saved all 3 hits. So I'm super surprised at that, because each hit from that is also devastating. So for every wound caused by a shooting attack made with a weapon with the keyword devastating, the unit rolls a d10, and for every 1 the target takes a combat stress marker, which is done after pinning tests. So it's one of the reasons why I want to do it in that order. But yeah, they're not taking any, which is a shock. But there we go, that's the way that dice work. They are random number generators. So they've been very lucky. So that is the cannonade phase over with. Next we'll be moving on to the elites phase. And just as a reminder, if you haven't seen it, that's the unit profiles. Probably should have showed you this at the beginning, but I did do it in a previous video. So this is a unit profile for an infantry selection. We have pace, which is the amount it moves. MS, which is basically its ability to fight in every shape or form. Z is the zeal we've been talking about. Mod is simply the amount of models in a unit. And ST is the saving throw. And any of the keywords are underneath, and what weapons they have as well. I did print a lot of these off, and I'm just using these cheat sheets at the moment. They haven't printed off very well, but I decided not to waste paper and reprint them, because they'll be good enough for me in the background. So we're going to now move on to the elites phase. So next you can see is who goes first in this phase. So far the British have been very lucky with all the dice rolls. I did not expect it to go this well. But we do have 1 command token left for the British. This is the elite phase. The Germans will have their sniper and their stormtroopers. The British will have 2 units of lancers, and of course you can move characters any phase you want, so there'll probably be some movement of characters this phase. The British are in a better position. As I said, I wasn't going to use their command token at this point, so I'm still not going to, but in theory I would be very tempted to use it to gain the advantage in this phase and go first. I'm not going to use it because I have another plan for that. So again, the red dice is the German, and they lose again, so there's no need to use the command token. So the British will be going first. So we have, as I said, with the 2 units of lancers, I'm going to be can't speak. I'm going to be moving the commander with the lancers, so he's going to be moving as well. So the first thing we're going to do is a lot of movement. The lancers and the commander we're all moving at pace 7. So let's go ahead and do some movement. So one thing I haven't covered so far, because I was so gung-ho to start blowing things up, was that units can be activated with, there we go, camera. We've got special activations, where a unit can perform one of its actions from the list below, and normal activations, whereas a player may choose to move the unit first before carrying out a chosen task. Note that in normal activation, the move, if there is one, must be made first. So special activations, we have rests and charges. So a rest action, which I've never used yet, and probably should have previously in other games. Almost any unit can take a rest action unless it's wheeled or tracked. And resting, any unit that's not in contact with an enemy, broken, or a vehicle may choose to rest. A unit that is resting can do nothing else this round, but they lose a combat stress marker. Something we haven't seen yet in this game, but it's something that can be built up over time. It's especially useful for weapons teams that have started to become a bit more useless because they've generated a bunch of combat stress markers. So normal activations includes a move, is an ability the unit user innate skill to perform some feat. Any that has access to abilities can use them, or shoot. The unit can make a shooting attack against a selected enemy unit from afar using whatever weapons that they have at their disposal. Any unit equipped with a ranged weapon may shoot, but bear in mind only models that are equipped with a weapon with the keyword quickfire may both move and shoot, something I've forgotten in previous games as well. So we are going to move our cavalry. We know from deploying the ones at the top of the board that they are at least 16 inches away from the enemy. Their pace is 7, so that would make their charge 14. So we know this turn they are not going to be able to charge anybody. However, we can move them 7 inches forward, which is what we're going to do, and that gets us closer to the enemy, and if we're lucky like we've been for another round, they'll be fine. But we're going to actually give the enemy something to think about and some other targets to shoot at as well. So we're going to move in this cavalry unit around this side with the leader, and hopefully not die horribly. So that's the plan for the British. So again, we're going to move the top unit first. So that's our first action. Next up, the Germans will be moving one of their elite units, or activate one of their elite units. Now they have the sniper, and they have the stormtroopers. The stormtroopers' pace is 5, and they are going to run around to defend the heavy machine gun, and their commander is going to go with them. So I believe he will be just around the other side where I do the measurements. But basically they're just gonna, you're probably not going to be able to see what I'm doing. They're going to run around the other side of this. Commander is a bit further away, but yeah, I don't want him on that side, so I'm going to move him on that side because I want him near the combat as possible. Let's do that. Running around the HMG because they don't want to lose that. So it's a big hitter when it works, which it always worked better than when I was filming it. So that is their move. And next up, the British are going to move this cavalry unit 7 inches. Where are you? To that. And commander, well, he's right behind them. So in theory, he's still right behind them. And then the Germans are going to activate their sniper. So he is off there to the bottom. So just before we activate the sniper, I completely forgot when I moved the stormtroopers and commander to actually shoot them because that was the second action. I was so wanting to move the cavalry. So they have revolvers. Then the range of a revolver is 10 inches. They are just within range to start shooting at the cavalry, which is what they're going to do. And So we're going to play out that scenario before we move on. It doesn't change anything that's happened, so we're just going to play out that scenario that they shot. So we're going to do that. So there we go. So the stormtroopers round with machine pistols, which is small arms and quick fire, so they can shoot. Again, as I said before, quick fire is the rule that allows you to move and shoot. They have 3 shots and the range is 15. And then we have our revolver, which our command's going to use. Again, quick fire, and we have 1 dice at 10 inches. So when I roll these dice, I'll roll them separately because the MS for the stormtroopers is medium and the one for the commander is high. So they're going to be different dice rolls needed. So let's have a look at what's needed. So we'll do the stormtroopers first with the machine pistols. They have rapid fire weapons, which we can see there. So 1 or 2 is a hit and 3 to 4 is a miss. However, they shoot 3 dice each. There's 4 of them. It's 12 dice, which is a lot of dice. But there's a 1 in 3 chance of each shot hitting. There's no other special rules. Oh, come hither. So it's 2, 2, 2, 2, another 2, the other way. So we have ourselves 6 hits, so half have actually hit. Oh, I rolled 1 too many dice as well because I put 1 extra. There we go. So I'll re-roll them. There we go. We'll have a miss. I wondered why there was more dice when there's half hit, but there's 7 dice. This dice was for the revolver for the commander, so we're going to roll that now as well. Now he's high on a standard issue weapon with a higher martial skill. So a 1's going to be a crit, a 1 to 4 is going to be a hit, and a 5 to 6 is going to be a miss. Oh, it's going to be a miss. Sorry about that, Commander. Shouldn't have rolled your extra dice in the others. There we go. So we're now going to take 5 saves for these poor cavalry units. Oh. And all but 1 have saved. There we go. That was a lot kinder than I thought was going to happen. But we've now lost our first British casualty, one of the Lancers. So let me move him somewhere safe. And there we go. That is the shooting phase that we missed. So it's now over to the sniper phase. So he's not going to move, he's going to go straight into shooting. So let's do the sniper weapon. Ooh, there we go. So a marksman's rifle is small arms and armor piercing. It uses the precision table. It's 1 dice and it's range 48. So we already know they're in range. His target's going to be the other cavalry unit because they are probably the biggest threat. There's no one else that's nearer that he has to shoot at, and I'll actually cover that now. So there are some rules for shooting attacks, which are outlined right here. So you can't shoot if you're in close combat. You can't shoot if you've moved and you've not got quick fire. You're broken, pinned, or subject to a specific rule that prevents you from shooting. You must also select a target. And those are the rules for selecting targets. In addition to those rules for selecting targets, there are also the priority targets rules. A unit must always shoot an enemy if it's within 10 inches, basically. The enemy is within 10 inches and is engaged in close combat, then you can ignore that. If they're broken, you can ignore that. Shoot an enemy with an activation keyword cannonade. The enemy is within 10 inches, completely outside the shooting, uses line of sight. Again, you can ignore it then. The shooting unit must pivot in order to shoot at the target and does not have quick fire, meaning it would lose ability to shoot, so you don't have to do it then. And the enemy unit is within 10 inches of it as a keyword armoured, and the shooting unit is only equipped with small arms, meaning that you cannot shoot at it at all. So if there's any circumstance where you wouldn't be able to effectively shoot at something, you can ignore the 10-inch rule. In this case, the sniper is going to shoot at the cavalry unit, within 40 inches. It's 1 dice. We need the precision table. Where it's gone? There it is. So on a 1, we'll be doing a critical hit. On a 1 to 3, it'll be a hit. That's a natural 1. 4 to 5 is a near miss, and a 6 is a miss. It is a 1, a natural 1, a critical hit. So that ignores the armour of the cavalryman, taking them out completely without an armour save. The weapon also does have an anti-armour save on it, so any saves taken from this are also at disadvantage 1, so it would have lowered the armour save to a 2, a 1 or a 2. But in this case, you're not going to get one anyway, so let's remove you from that end. There we go. So that is another Lancer dropped. And that is the end of the Elites phase. The next phase is the Line phase. And again, we are going to be rolling 2 goes first. The British are not going to add any command tokens to this. There's no advantage to doing that at this point. I must say they've got off pretty lightly so far. When I've played this out before, they got mowed down by now. And that's what I was expecting. So, again, they've won. Okay. Looks favouring the British side at this moment. So, we are going to be... I'm just going to move this book out of the way for a second. We're going to be moving our line units. Also going to be activating the Witch as well. But for now, we're going to move this line unit up to pace. 5. Moving them. That was a bit more ceremonious than just shoving them along. We're going to check the range to see if they're in range to shoot. Ideally, I want to shoot the infantry unit opposite, because I know they're definitely going to be going next. So if I can weaken them in any way, that'd be great. Here we go. So we're going to be using rifles. These are small arms and quick fire, so we can move on fire. They are standard issue, they are 1 dice each, the range is 25. I've just measured and they were just over 18 inches away, so well within the range. So they are going to fire. So that is 1 shot per man. That's 8 shots. We'll gather together 8 dice. So we're looking at the, here we go, the standard issue medium skill, which is basically a 50-50 hit. 1 to 3 is a hit, 4 to 6 is a miss. We have 8 dice. In theory, 4 should hit, but we'll see how lucky we are. Very. 6 hits. That is 6 saves. Over 2 up from the German side, who are incredibly unlucky. I've lost 5 men. This has never happened before. It does not usually go this well. So whenever you remove units, models from a unit, you get to pick. So you're not going to remove the NCO, you're not going to remove your heavy machine guns and stuff like that first. You get to choose. So I'm going to just remove 5 models. I'm just going to be in front of the camera, so I may as well switch it off for a second. So because the unit has suffered more than 50% casualties from the shooting attack, it will be given a combat stress marker represented by this thing here. Again, got it from the same place, War Bases UK. We have a combat stress marker. So then we talk about combat stress markers. I thought we'd be talking about this sooner with the cavalry, but here we go. So combat stress marker. Each time it is subject to combat stress, place a marker, abbreviated to CSM, which isn't Chaos Space Marine, it is combat stress marker. A unit can have a maximum of 3 combat stress markers active at any time. If a unit with 3 combat stress markers is to put into a situation where it would normally receive another, it must take a battle shock instead. The unit must perform battle shock for every combat stress marker that it generates over the first 3, and it means that if a unit has 3 combat stress markers and receives another 2, it could have to make 2 consecutive battle shock tests. So combat stress markers on multi-model units, which is what we've just done. It makes it more difficult for multi-model units to pass Zeal tests, battleshot tests, by imposing a -1 disadvantage to Zeal for each combat stress marker. Combat stress also helps to determine what action the unit can take at the end of a close combat subphase, which we've not got to yet. Any exhausted unit is far more likely to break and run or suffer an unfavourable result at the end of combat. Further results for the interplay between combat and stress and close combat can be found in page 48. So that's basically the rules on page 28 for combat stress markers. They have different effects that you can see at the bottom on weapons teams, on single model units, whereby they do different things. But for a multi-unit, it literally is just put the marker on and it will affect Zeal tests. It is, however, the Germans' turn. The combat stress marker won't affect what they do next, but they are going to return fire. They do have a HMG in that unit, or sorry, a LMG in that unit, so they're going to fire back with that. And obviously we've got one guy, which is the NCO, with a rifle. The second weapons team's guy loses his rifle, so it's just one rifle and one LMG. So we're going to take a look for the rules for the light machine gun. And we can see it doesn't have quick fire. Why is that important? Because it only has a range of 15. And we know that they're just out of range, because when I measured it they were just over 18 inches away. So they cannot fire at these guys over here. They can, however, fire at the cavalry unit that's over there. So in lieu of shooting what they want to shoot at, which is return fire here, really they're going to shoot over there at the cavalry unit. And just to confirm that they're in range, I'm going to take a measurement of that, as assumed, and they are within 12 inches. So the unit is going to shoot in that direction instead. So again, 6 dice from the light machine gun and 1 dice from the rifle. So our rifle is a 50-50 hit. That is a hit. The machine gun is a 1 to 2 to hit, 3 to 4 is near miss, and 5 for 6 is a miss. So 2 near misses, 3 hits. There's no disadvantage from either to the armour saves for the unit, so 3s to save. They have all saved by a miracle. They took 2 near misses, which means they now need to take a -2 to their Zeal, which is a 5. They run 4. They've passed the Zeal test. They did nothing. Wow. Okay. I'm just shocked. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to advance the second infantry unit. Now, the LMG they have is probably in range to shoot. And I could shoot that unit, but I would prefer to move up a bit. So they're going to move up next to their friends. This would now mean that the second line unit for the Germans would activate, only they're pinned and cannot activate. However, they haven't actually activated the Witch yet at all, so the Witch is going to make a little bit of a move, because that unit's probably not going to last very long, so they're going to move over there just for now. And it reminds me the British Witch is also going to make a move. Follow up behind the infantry. For their second activation after the move, they're going to use an ability. And since we have 1 command token remaining on the British side, which we haven't used, and we're going to lose if we don't, we may as well use it to do something, and we're going to use it to basically commune, which is a skill a witch can do. So we're just going to burn that, and that generates them another manifestation dice. So we actually now have 2 manifestation dice over here. That brings us to the end of the round. All the line units have moved, and will take us back to the top of the next round. So we're going to play through the next round and see how that goes. So we're going to move any markers that no longer need to be on. I didn't use any other of these activation markers either. I think they'll be more handy once you get into a bigger game. You can't quite remember who's moved and who isn't. But for a smaller game like this, they're a bit less useful. Okay, so we're going to generate our command tokens. So back at the top of the round, first thing to do is generate command tokens. The British have generated a total of 6, and the Germans have generated a total of 4. We have 1 command token for our captains, 1 command token because 50% of the force is not broken or destroyed in both cases. The Germans have generated 1 command token for the regulars who are above 50%. That unit does not generate a command token because it's below 50%. The British have 2 for that. The next 2 tokens are generated because the 2 assault units, the Lancers and the Stormtroopers, are within 6 inches of each other, so both sides gain a command token. And finally, the British gain a command token for pinning the infantry unit at the top of the battlefield in the previous turn. So the British do start with a nice healthy 6, Germans slightly less. Neither of them want to spend a command token yet on deciding who's going to go first in the command phase. Here with the British. So now we're going to see what orders we have available to us that have any use. Okay, so we're not going to play any orders from the British side. We are going to attempt to cast the Moon, which is selecting an enemy unit within 25 inches. The coming round, that unit loses D4 from its pace. So 25 inches is quite far. Yeah, all the way over there. So the Witch is going to attempt to cast, and you can see him just beyond the forest, the Moon on the unit of Stormtroopers. We are going to use, it's a level 1 spell, I'm going to use a couple though, try and get it. We rolled a 1, we did it. So they lose D4. So I don't have a D4, do I? I might have a D4. I don't know if I find any. No, I do have some D8s. So same rule as using a D6 as a D3. R1 or a 2 is a 1, and so on. And that's a 6, that's a 3. So they lose 3 from the pace. So now minus 3 to their pace. The German side would like to would like to cast a Ritual of the Crone. They are going to attempt the biggie. They're going to attempt Judgment on their pretty damaged line unit though. So there's plenty of things you can cast from a Ritual of the Crone. Another one here would be the Star. That'd be quite good to increase shooting, but we've got Ritual Judgment. We're going to use 3 tokens because it requires 2 successes. So we're going to hope that this works. Choose 3 red dice. And it absolutely fails. They did roll 2 2s, so have generated themselves a manifestation dice. And that's it for now. The British side is going to hold on to its command tokens. Not going to attempt to cast anything else. Should I try and summon something though? Let's see, we've got 2 D6s. Snatcher costs 8 to summon. A Beguile a 10. I mean, that's pretty high. I'd like another dice for an attempt to do it. We'll see how we go. I'm going to keep all the manifestation dice for now. They're going to keep all of their manifestation dice. Probably should have started this with maybe the extra manifestation dice, but we'll do that in a future video if they don't come out this game. And that is the command phase. So now we move on to the cannonade phase. So oh, sorry, the Germans are going to use the final command token on that. That's what I forgot to do. I knew there was something I was planning to do. The problem when you're doing it yourself, you're like, oh, I was planning to do something. They want to use their order, which is... So yeah, we're going to be using, just find it in the book, Unrelenting Barrage. So it's cannonade unit with intentions of the leader and generating the miss dice for each critical they roll as well. So hopefully that will help a little bit. Speaking of which, the cannonade phase begins. British aren't too bothered about who goes first. Doesn't really make much difference at this point in the cannonade phase. So again, the white dice is British, and they go first. I think the same target, to be honest, because there's now a lot stood around it. So it's a nice little thing to shoot at. So again, we're going to be shooting there. It's right in the middle of that. We know. You get some templates printed off, I think. And it's a direct hit. There we go. So slam on top of the old thing there. However, let's just have a look, because 3 inches on there, yep, also hits the Stormtrooper unit and the leader. Let's have a look. And the witch. Yep. Okay. So, hit 2 of the Stormtrooper models. So let's roll for them. So 1 and 5. Let's hit the leader. That's a 5. And it's hit the witch. That's a 10. So that's a dud. But there's only 1 dud rolled. And that's how it deals with the multiple and single units. The actual weapons team, however, is dealt with slightly differently. There's a nice little graphic in the book for dealing with that. So as you can see, if you glance, 1 hit is generated. If you do more than glance, 150%, half the amount is generated. And if you do a good hit, which is what we got, the full amount is generated. The amount is based on the size of the template, and it's a number equal in hits equal to the inches. So in this case, there's 3. So 3 hits are generated against the weapons team, which is a 1, a 4 and an 8. This has been a devastating hit. I've never done a hit this well from a mortar. But what does that all mean? Well, the weapons team, you're taking a critical hit, so there's no save to that. They're taking a normal hit and they're taking a near miss. The witch got away with nothing. The commander's taking a near miss, and the Stormtroopers are taking a near miss, no, a hit and a crit. So they lose 1 guy, and then they'll get to make a saving throw. So let's do that one first. So Stormtroopers have a save of 3. That's a 4. It is a fail, which is important because the unit is now at 50%. It's not below 50%. I don't believe it generates a combat stress mark. I'll double check that. But we need to remove 2 models. Remove the 2 that actually got hit by the blast. The weapons team also needs to suffer a wound. They take a save. I believe they have 3 wounds. Let me check. They do. They have 3 wounds. The saves are 2. They've also failed. So they've taken 2 hits. So yeah, just double check the combat stress markers. When it's reduced to half, rounded down. Now they took 2 wounds, which means they have a combat stress marker. They have a combat stress marker. They need to take a pinning test, which they just passed because they were at -1. The commander needs to take a pinning test, which he has passed with a 3. And that was a very effective mortar shot, I would have said. It is now the turn of their cannonade, which is their heavy machine gun. It does get to convert crits into near misses as well, but it does have a combat stress marker on it. So our heavy machine gun has 8 dice. We know from previous shooting that 1 to 2 is a hit, 3 to 4 is near miss, and a 5 to 6 is a miss. However, now that they suffered a combat stress marker, a 4 is also a miss. So 1 to 3 is a hit, 1 to 2 is a hit, and a 3 is a near miss. 1 is also near miss because they've got the command token on there giving them that ability. But anything from a 4 to a 6 is just a miss. They can also now see the cavalry unit that was being blocked by the stormtroopers because 2 of the stormtroopers are dead, and they now have a line of sight back to that cavalry unit. So they were going to shoot over here, but they're going to shoot the nearer threat because they have to, and because they want to. So they're going to shoot this cavalry unit. So we have ourselves at 1 crit, 2 crit. We have ourselves 4 misses there. We have ourselves a hit and a near miss. So these 2 crits are also near misses. So that's 3 near misses. 1 save, which we'll take now, which has saved. So they've suffered 2 hits. That kills 2 of them, which is more the devastation I was expecting to be wrought, because these are also devastating hits. They've took 3 near misses, which is a -3 from the last guy's zeal, which is a fail, so he is classed as pinned, and 2 devastating hits because the unit suffered 2 wounds. For those, we're going to roll 2d10s. Oh wait, if the unit's down to less than half of its wounds, it makes its test on d6s, not d10s. So on a roll of a 1, it'll take a combat stress marker, which it doesn't. So it's just classed as pinned, which is a problem in itself. But that's more what I expected the first time it was fired, so they've done well, all things considered. And let's move our 2 dead lancers off here. That's the cannonade phase over. Next will be the elites phase. It is no longer a priority for the British to go first, because even if they do, they can't activate the commanders over here and any of the abilities which would allow me to take that pinning off. He's out of range to use, unfortunately. So that poor guy on his own, carrying the banner, he's pretty much on his own. That's that. Therefore, we're just going to roll. We're not going to add any command tokens. We generally don't have any command tokens to add. And the British still go first. So we are going to be moving our elite unit to the, so let's get that right. Sensor would be there. And just move our commander up behind. I'm not going to measure him as well. We know he's still behind for cover. The Germans have their sniper, which they are going to activate now. I'm just going to shoot again at this unit. We know they're in range. We know they're using the precision chart. We know that's a hit. And we know that hits at a -1 to their armour. It's a 3. I can't even see that. It's a 1, they've saved. A miracle. So the snipers are nothing again. We have our normal British elite units. I could move the witch 1 to, but there's no advantage to that. We are going to then, we've got, so you've got the stormtroopers there. I don't see any advantage. They can only move. They lost, I can't remember how much they lost. They lost 3 off the pace, so they can only move 2 inches anyway, so, or charge 4, so there's no point. They may as well just shoot. So they're just going to use the rapid fire weapons and shoot at the last remaining cavalry over there. 2s to hit. 1 or 2 to hit. Oh my word, there's just 1. Can the cavalryman save? No, he can't. And that is him gone. A valiant running into guns there. A very valiant, soaking up much enemy fire, which is actually quite useful. That is the elite phase over already. I was going to activate the commander, but there's now nothing in range for him to shoot at. So that's the German phase over. So we're on to the line phase. It does kind of make a difference who goes first here. I don't really want the Germans to activate first. I want to get some shots in on them. So I'm going to add a command token to the British side for this. Didn't need to. Both dice beat them. But there we go. Oh, come here. Come hither. So the British units will go first. So like before, I'm going to move this line unit up 5 inches. Does get them to about there. Doesn't really matter. They're going to take another round of shooting at the same German unit over there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. So 1, 2 or 3 is a hit. This time it's gone the other way. So I got 3. Germans now need to take saves. 1 has failed, 2 has failed because it's a 2 for the infantry. So we're going to lose these 2 guys. We're going to keep the heavy gun. And they've lost 50% of the unit in a round, so that should generate another combat stress marker. I might be wrong on that, but that's how I'm interpreting it. That's what I'm going to stick at for now. It might just be 50% of the unit, but then they don't take it again, but they have lost more than 50% of that unit in one turn because they've lost 2 guys. For now it doesn't make much difference, but I am going to add it on. That's how I'm interpreting it. Please put in the comments, again, except at the beginning, if it's wrong, let me know. If any of this is wrong, let me know. I need to know. This is how I've interpreted the rules. I'm no expert. So that's their shooting done. The enemy can now shoot back. We have... don't know why my voice went like that one. That was weird. We have one guy with his machine gun, which we're going to shoot. And I'm going to try and take that cavalry out, because I don't like the cavalry. We've decided. And that is, I'll remind myself. Yep, so the 1 to 2s are hits. That's 3 of them. 5 to 6s are all misses. There's no near misses generated this time. 3 saves. All have failed. The luck has run out completely. That is all 3 of them. Lost of the cavalry, gone. How the luck has changed. Now, we're going back to the British to activate the last line unit of this round, which is this unit here. They can see line of sight wise that sniper in the corner. If that sniper was in contact with anything that could be considered makeshift cover, and that's not when it's on its base, that was just there for fun, then they wouldn't be able to target it, because they wouldn't be able to target it until they got within 10 inches. However, he is not within cover, therefore he is going to get shot at. This unit has a light machine gun in there. However, the British don't get light machine guns, they just get an automatic rifle. I think it's 2 less dice, so let's double check that. It's at the back of the book. It's one of the things that people have complained about, that they don't get a true LMG, but I think this is just to show that the German ones were probably a bit more devastating. However, when it comes to the Lewis gun, it's pretty damn devastating anyway. So it's kind of it's just a point to make them slightly different. But we can see there we've got an automatic rifle, that's 4 dice. Now, I don't think we're in 15 inches to use that by any means. We would be in the 25 if we were in cover, so then we could use the bipod, but again, these guys aren't in cover either, so absolutely not, we're 20 inches away. So to make it more interesting next turn, because they may as well, they've got quick fire on the rifles, they're going to move up alongside the other unit. Whee. And they are going to just fire the rifles. There are 6 of them with rifles, as the weapons team obviously removes 2 rifles. And they're going to shoot, they're definitely going to shoot the sniper, I think. So not bad, not bad at all. It's only 1 miss. The sniper will now have to take 5 saves. The sniper has a save of 2 and only 2 wounds. And by some miracle has not died, but has taken 1 wound, which takes them to 50%, which generates them a combat stress marker, which means they've been lamed and they've been reduced to 2 inches movement. It's not a big problem for them. That could have gone very badly, but there's a lot of combat stress markers over there now. There's no more movement on the German side. The only thing I'm going to do here is move my witch up again. That's that. That's the end of turn 2. It's quite interesting so far. The British have done far better than they have in the previous ones, although now the cavalry's gone. A lot of the threat from charging's gone, but we do have 2 juicy, not mangled units here. We've not seen any close combat, so let's continue just to see if we can get into close combat, just for fun. So one thing I forgot to do is the witch was going to use one of the command tokens left to generate another communion and get up to 3 manifestation dice now. Surprisingly, both have generated 4 command tokens. Sorry, no. I was going to say the Germans have generated 3 command tokens. The British have generated 4, so they're a lot nearer than they were last term. And now we roll to see who goes in the command phase first. Now they're going to use the tokens. Everyone's saving tokens. The British still go first. I don't know what the odds are of that one, but there we go. Okay, so we're going to attempt to cast the Hanged Man from the Rituals of the Maiden. So that's unit not engaged in close combat within 20 inches, is it? There we go. Now, select a unit that's not engaged in close combat and must perform a zeal test for a battle shock. For every point that it's failed, remove 1 model from that unit. For every model removed, a friendly unit within 20 inches may immediately move 6 inches in any direction. Does not count as moving. So I'm going to cast it on that poor guy after his own. So he needs to take a battle shock test. Oh no, I need to cast it first. It's a level 1. And that's double 1s. So that means it's cast. Yeah, so that means it's cast. It generates a manifestation dice because it was double. And he is killed, and a unit within 6 inches can move 6 inches. Sorry, a unit within 20 inches can move 6 inches. I have to read that a few times, sorry. Right. I'm going to use this unit and I'm going to move them 6 inches. That gets them to about there. The poor German guy has been removed. He did well. Oh wait, no, he has to take a battle shock test. Well, so I'm doing this all back to front. Let's make sure that's... He's got -2 though. Yep, that's a fail. He rolled a 5. He didn't get the +1 from his NCO either because the NCO's dead. So he should have rolled 6 or less, but then -2 for the Chaos Space Marines. Sorry, the CSM. So that is a fail. He dies. They move 6. Manifestation dice was generated. That's everything, I think. It is now their turn. They have... let's see what they want to do. They're going to try and cast the star. They're going to cast it. That unit's probably a bigger threat because it's got an LMG, well, automatic rifle. So I cast it on there. They're going to use all the command tokens because it's a level 2. And if they succeed, all shooting attacks against this unit will get to be re-rolled, all failed ones. That is 3 fails, unfortunately. It's a double though, so they do generate a manifestation dice. It's 2 they've got. At this point, yeah. We may as well try and do some manifestations. I don't know if I'll get another chance. The British have 4 dice. So let's have a look. We can attempt to manifest something. The Snatcher will probably get, but it's pretty low level. Although it could interfere with the heavy machine gun. Haunter is 12. I could try and cast that. Shouldn't be a problem. Beguiler is 10. Should we go for a Devourer? I've got 4 dice. I can bring my Hag Troll on. Because it says Hag Troll, so I got a Hag Troll. Let's see if we can bring her on I want to. Okay. Right, so that's 16 was needed. And we got 20. Nope, not 20. I can't add up. We got 16. Exactly 16. Sorry. There we go. Exactly 16. So we've manifested a devourer. So for the British, have this crooked dice troll model. Really cool. Now then, I go through the rules for manifestations. So yeah, before rolling that, I should have indicated where I want the mod to come on. It can come on any board edge. It has to be at least 6 inches away from an enemy. So I believe that's 6 inches away from the enemy. And 12 inches away from an enemy witch. It's also 12 inches away from an enemy witch. Prowlers and beguilers can use different rules. In fact, a prowler could have cast a prowler that could have come on from the woods. That could have been a better idea, but I wanted to pick the troll on. And that's literally it. It just summons and is placed there. It is classed as a elite creature, as far as I can tell, so it'll activate in the elite phase. And we now continue. The Germans are going to attempt to manifest. Beguiler would need a 10, they've only got 2 dice. They're going to attempt to cast and bring on a snatcher. And they've failed. That would have needed an 8, and they all rolled a 4. So right, so we now continue. All manifestations done. Germans use about command tokens, but we've got 2 command tokens left, which I'm going to keep hold of for now. And we roll to see who goes first. So this is the cannonade phase again. Yeah, it doesn't. It could matter. Actually, the British are going to use a command token. Because I want to see if I can hit them again, I can probably take out the HMG. So I got 1 wound left. And this time it was worth using because there's a good chance that the Germans would have gone first with that 5. But not with a 6 with the British. So, again, middle of that HMG. I mean, as long as I'm going to jinx myself. I'm going to roll it. I'm not going to say. Right, so it's moved. It's coming this direction, which is actually towards the stormtroopers. It's not the end of the world. Take them out. However, if we cannot roll a high number, a 2. Right, so that means it still clips the HMG. It will land from the centre 2 inches away. There, which means the 3-inch template is hitting half of the HMG or thereabouts, so it'll take half those amount of hits, like not the full amount they did last time. So we need to roll 2 dice for both, 2 for the stormtroopers, so that's a hit. And I can't remember whether that's a near miss or not, we'll double check in a second. And 2 for the HMG, and that's a 3 and a 2. Now let's check what those are. Okay, so we'll do the saves for the stormtroopers. That's 1 save, 1 fail. And we'll do a save for the machine gun. That's a fail. So that's removed. No need to work out whether it got pinned or not. Right. That's cannonade fade over because there's nothing to fire back. Takes us to the elite phase, and there's one German elite soldier on his own. So, I mean, it looks pretty one-sided now. Now that HMG's gone. Yeah. So let's roll to see who goes first. Again, the British. I don't know why I'm rolling, just say the British go first all the time. Yeah, so elites. So what we're going to do, we'll have a look at the close combat. I'm going to charge the troll into the sniper. And I know he's about 7 inches away, I think, when I measured it for getting him on the board. Yeah, exactly 7 inches away. The pace is 5 to charge. We double that to 10. So that brings him in range for a charge. Boom. And we'll fight a close combat between these two guys. Whoosh. Off at the edge there. Okay, so there's a couple of things going on here. We've got the weapons team. They automatically generate 2 attack dice. And we have our monster, Devourer, at Zeal 7. Now, the rules state that at full strength, attack dice are equal to Zeal. So that'd be 7 attack dice. 6, 7. Oh, red dice. They are both medium skilled fighters, which means that hits are generated basically at 50%. So 1 to 3 is a hit, and a 4 to 6 a miss. Technically, the elite team is injured and would fight at half strength, but we're going to ignore that for now. They would essentially have 1 hit, 1 miss, whereas the troll will have 3 hits and 4 misses. So in this case, the combat's pretty one-sided. The troll has fearsome weapons, therefore it can create crits, so the 1 that it rolled to hit will be a crit as well, which kills that unit. In return, the troll takes a saving throw, 4 up, 4 was rolled, and takes no damage. Therefore, that combat would be very much over, and the troll would have killed the sniper. If it was at full strength, the sniper would have had to take 2 saves as well, of which failed 1, so would have died even at full strength. And then the troll can opt to eat them, so regenerate wounds, stuff like that. But there we go, that is a dead sniper, and to be fair, this battle is pretty much over. Again, this was just a demo. It wasn't meant to be a proper battle report. I forgot things like to move that unit up there at the top. After being pinned the first turn, I forgot to move it on the second turn. We haven't even got to moving it on the third turn yet. So it did miss an entire turn where it could have done something. It could have moved and probably been in shooting range to do a bit of damage, probably to one of these 2 units down here. I don't think it would have made much difference. The British dice were just in their favour for this demo. Every game I've played with these models so far, the British have lost terribly. But the HMG just wasn't quite as effective in this game and got pinned down, and that mortar was very effective, and it's always missed everything in the past, or just had a dud. So them's the luck on the day. You can change everything. That's the same with any game that involves dice. You are stuck with a bit of luck, but there was a lot of luck on the British side there. But as a demo game, quite happy with that. As I said, put in the comments if you've seen anything that I've done wrong. That's fine. As I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just playing this from the few games that I've played against myself, to be fair. So it's always good to have another opinion on what's going on. But that's how it looks to me at the moment. The book is quite confusing in a few places to follow, especially with what dice to use for what. So I wouldn't be surprised if I've got something wrong though. Please again put in the comments. And I also found the book very difficult to move between for finding what weapons to use, and then you're on a different page for what you need to roll, and then you're back on a different page for how that affects it. You're jumping around in the book all the time. So post-it notes in the book would be quite useful, but cheat sheets would be even more useful. So hopefully when they come out, they're going to be really good and speed the game up a little bit. But that's it. If you've made it through to now, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Put in the comments if you want to see me do a proper battle report, or if you want me to focus on any of the phases. It's what I was originally going to do, but I've not had a lot of time really to film, do this in this phase, and then do another video for this phase. So it's kind of just been meshed into one video, and I just thought this would be the easiest way to do it. But if you want to, because Close Combat didn't really get featured a lot, if you want to see me throw some just units into Close Combat, put that in the comments as well. The next videos will either be more army building videos. I've got the French army, I've got the American army to build, I've got the Free Corps, I've got ideas for all of them, I've got models for all of them, just not all the models I need. So if you want to see those, stay tuned, they're coming up. And I might do some painting videos, especially for these two forces, because these two are pretty much ready to be just painted, and they're pretty much at the size I'm going to keep them at. I think I'm going to stick with 25 points maximum, just because of space to actually play the game. I think you'd need a much bigger board, maybe even bigger than 6x4 once you start getting above the 25 points. Plus it's going to take a lot longer as well. It's not a short game by any means, it is a full war game, so bear that in mind as well. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been a little bit informative. I've not made too many mistakes, but that's great. So thanks for watching. Again, as I said, please like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you again soon for some more videos. And bye for now, take care, have fun.